From Neural Newscast, this is Deep Dive, exploring the moments that shape today.
Welcome to Deep Dive. I am glad you are joining us for today's journey through history.
It is June 13th, Benjamin, and today we are looking at a date that defined modern police procedure and gave us some of our most beloved cultural icons.
We often talk about the architecture of freedom. Usually we think of grand buildings or parchment documents. But sometimes that architecture is a specific set of words that every citizen should know by heart.
You are talking about the Miranda rights. It was on this day in 1966 that the United States Supreme Court delivered its landmark ruling in the case of Miranda versus Arizona.
Exactly. The case centered on Ernesto Miranda, who was arrested in 1963 and confessed to several crimes during interrogation. The ethical dilemma wasn't just about what he said, but what he didn't know. That he had the right to remain silent and the right to an attorney.
The court's decision was a massive shift. It established that any statements made during a custodial interrogation would only be admissible at trial if law enforcement could prove that the suspect was informed of their rights and voluntarily waived them.
It is fascinating because it forces a pause in the tension of an arrest. It creates a moment where the power of the state must acknowledge the rights of the individual. Nina, do you think people realize how much this one ruling changed the day-to-day operations of every police department in the country?
It became so ingrained in the culture that we almost take it for granted now. If you watch any crime drama, the recitation of those rights is a staple. But before 1966, the Fifth Amendment protections against self-incrimination were much harder to invoke in a practical, real-world setting.
It represents a long-term commitment to due process. Even when the person involved is suspected of serious crimes, the ethics of the system require that the process remains transparent and fair.
While we are on the subject of profound influences, Benjamin, June 13th is also a significant day for the arts, beginning with the birth of one of the 20th century's greatest poets.
Ah, you mean William Butler Yeats. He was born in 1865. Yeats was such a complex figure, a Nobel Prize winner who was instrumental in the Irish literary revival. His work often sought to capture the soul of a nation through its folklore and its struggles.
He managed to bridge the gap between traditional Irish identity and the modern world. His poetry has a timeless quality that still resonates in literary circles today.
Moving from the 19th century poets to modern-day screen icons, we have two very recognizable birthdays to celebrate as well. One of them took us to infinity and beyond.
That would be Tim Allen, born in 1953. Most people know him from the long-running sitcom Home Improvement, but he's also the voice of Buzz Lightyear in the Toy Story films. He has a very specific kind of American charisma that has kept him relevant for decades.
It is that mixture of comedy and a certain grounded quality. And speaking of grounded characters, we also have Chris Evans celebrating a birthday today. He was born in 1981.
Evans is most famous for playing Steve Rogers, or Captain America, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He took a character that could have been very one-dimensional and gave him a real sense of moral weight and humanity.
It is interesting how both Allen and Evans have portrayed these archetypal heroes, one in space and one in the Avengers, who are ultimately defined by their sense of duty. Nina, it seems June 13th produces people who know how to tell a story of leadership.
That is a great observation. From the poetic leadership of Yeats to the cinematic leadership of Captain America, there is definitely a theme of guiding the narrative.
While we are exploring narratives, there is one historical story from this day that sounds like pure fiction, but I assure you it is quite real. It involves the United States Postal Service and a very unusual parcel.
I think I know where you are going with this. In 1920, the post office officially banned the mailing of children. And yes, for a brief period, parents were actually doing this?
It sounds like a dark joke, but it was born out of a very practical, if misguided, economy. When parcel post started in 1913, it was much cheaper than a train ticket. So some parents would attach stamps to their children's clothing and have them escorted by postal workers to their destination.
It actually speaks to how much trust people had in the postal system at the time. The mail carriers were seen as community pillars who would safely deliver anything, even a toddler, to their grandmother's house.
Fortunately, the Post Office Department decided by June 13th, 1920, that humans did not quite fit the definition of a parcel. It's a reminder of how systems have to evolve to meet ethical standards that we find obvious today.
From the legal rights of suspects to the quirky history of the mail, June 13th shows us a world constantly refining its rules and celebrating its voices.
That brings our journey through June 13th to a close. For more historical deep dives, visit deepdive.neuralnewscast.com.
Deep Dive is AI-assisted, human-reviewed. Explore history every day on Neural Newscast.
This has been Deep Dive on Neural Newscast, exploring the moments that shape today.